I'm sorry it's not a larger reference that I've got here, but hopefully you'll be able to see it. And actually I have the other side of the face that I'll pass around for you guys to look at so you get some of the idea a little bit. Okay. The main point that I want you guys to get with these eyes, and really with anything you're trying to make, and especially if it's something challenging like a portrait, is to try to start seeing the shapes of the shadows and the highlights, as opposed to thinking in terms of features. Or, you remember from drawing as a kid, maybe you made circles for eyes and a little half moon eyelid or something. I'm going to try to show you to get past that. So I'm going to take this, again, this is the other side of the face, just for a little hint of what I'm looking at a little better. But I'll pass this around so you can see, just really look at it. And in fact, you know what? Here's a cool exercise, is to look at it upside down. If you've ever tried that as a drawing exercise, if you make yourself look at your reference upside down, it instantly becomes less familiar, and you turn off autopilot a little bit, and you're like, oh wow, really look at that shape. So look at it, try to absorb the picture a little bit. So in this eye that I'm making, and I'm going to make it a little bigger than it is up here, but let's see what I can come up with. So what I look for, and we talked a little bit about this morning, is I'm looking for how the shapes run together. So rather than thinking, well, actually, I meant to show you what I'm not doing. What I don't want to do is this. That doesn't give me too much to go on. I mean, okay, we get it, that's an eye, but I'm trying to do better than that, and trying to really look at the shapes of the shadows and of the values from our very first exercise yesterday. And certainly the fashion language of strong makeup helps a lot in this. But I'm going to try to draw this as a simple value eye here. And it's kind of fun already. I'm using a big chunky marker and something like that, even some hair coming in and some shadow. And I don't mind some lines missing, but see how with just some pretty simple strokes I've been able to capture the light and the shapes of that eye. So most of what I drew is that kind of 5 value darkness, and probably the pupil is a 3 or 4, and then I saved my little highlight. So finding those shapes and trying to see the world in those shapes is a skill that we're looking for, rather than thinking features and eyeballs like that. So now you're like, okay, pretty cool eye, but how do we do that in collage? Well, I made a little stack here, and I'm going to see what I can do. See what I can do with my Elmer's glue and stuff. Let's see. And I'll give it a humble start with a little bit of dark with some text up in here somewhere. See what we get. All right, I'm off and running. There's some collage now all of a sudden. Love doing big pieces. I'm going to try to get some of the white going on. Start with a little of that. I try to work the biggest remaining problems at all times. But try to think of the marks that are going to make the biggest difference when we have fun going off the edges a little bit. Tried to grab myself a cool assortment of things. I showed you yesterday how I love it when a scrap of paper can be more than one thing. Could be fun to see on this. Got cool music playing at the moment. It feels like I'm being cinematic over here. Isn't that cool? Cool piece. And see, I love it that word "over" is there, even though that is probably distracting from the clarity of the eye. That's the most fun thing that's on there so far is the weirdness of that. You guys already experienced the thing where you picked up a piece of paper, you had big plans for it, and then you find out there's something cooler on the other side.
That you ripped through.
This will probably end up getting covered up, but it's right now it's making the cut. This is got a little and. Up there. This music reminds me there's an Instagram guy I follow now. His name escapes me at the moment, but all of his posts have like music like this, and the caption will say, "Point of view, you just broke free of the warehouse. You eluded the cops and you headed off into the sunset." Let's see if maybe this jewelry texture can help me like hint at a nose without being literal. To have tough choices. Sometimes you gotta cover something that's pretty good to get to something better. We've got a little Empire State Building in here. Keep going. Yeah, but what about the pupil stuff? They have not changed Elmer's glue technology since we were kids. They do not have NASA working on a better nozzle on these things. It's not happening. Even though this feels a little like hair, I'm not going to use it up in an eyebrow, but I'll use it a little bit in the pupil. I'm going to keep mixing up the textures. I don't want to be repetitive. I don't want to. What I don't do is say, okay, I figured it out. Everything in the eye is going to be made out of, that texture. I like it to be quite varied. I do a lot of this, like picking up a piece and then seeing the angles of where it could work. Alright, I had a couple pieces here that I was excited to try. Let's start. I might scare some color into it and see if it works. I do love it when it takes on its own life that is more interesting than my plans. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to exaggerate the makeup more because I really love it when some secondary story starts to show up in the art. It usually means some people of some kind. As I fold the paper, if I'm so excited that I don't want to take the time to cut it, I'll fold the paper and see if I can let that become like a stronger makeup shape, but now I've got figures in there, which I like. I love using watch details. When I said the near and far of the 5 pieces, I think of this as like a pleasant vertigo. Trying to make it confuse the senses, but in a good way. And these watch details are so fun to use. It's pretty cool. What do you guys think so far?
Yeah, love it.
I've actually been itching to do some large portrait stuff, so this gets me a little momentum going, maybe. To get inside the white of the eye a little bit, I need some. I really try to avoid like just filling in, so I'm always trying to find some pieces that can do 2 things at once. So, found a little bit of like the side of a purse and a little bit of white text. Get into that white of the eye there. Because every piece you put down has the potential to contribute to that double meaning, double reading of the images. I bet from back there it's still reading as an eye, right?
Yeah. When you're doing that up close, don't you have to like keep stepping back to look at it?
That is the question I'm asked the most of all. And I guess I had the years of kind of photographic training, whatever, or experience. So honestly, I'm excited to be on the edge of control and on the edge of legibility when I'm at this stage. So yes, eventually I come to the back and see what's working and try to see if I'm comfortable with that balance. But because of that structure that I did initially, I know it's there. All of this comes down to kind of a joy of control, playing with being on that edge of control. And now I'm looking to have flow from piece to piece. I like it to, I don't want too much of the same thing in a row. I think it looks more fun and playful if it dances around. Got a little circles that you were using. I don't want to use it literally, but I love using those in black areas. I rarely put a piece down when I put one down. I love these pages of the magazines, the fashion magazines that have like a product assortment, tons of small things.
Yeah.
I'm going to use some of those in this. Because they're small, you know, they kind of blur out and you don't have to know what they are. Kind of fun. I think I'll use it off the edge here. Face, but a little bit of graphic red that popped in there. I'll come around in a second and show this to you and see if you're with me. Let's see, let me figure out something to be the highlight. What do you think? Any questions of what I got there? I'm going to use, I love using letters to be the highlights of the eyes. Here's an example I don't think we talked about. There are many ways to make an edge. You know, I can use a line like this to make an edge, the black and the white. You know, to make the edge of an eyebrow, for example, like that, or you saw me do it a little bit with this, you know, there's a jacket and then some other fabric that made an edge. But another way that I didn't show you is when you have some large text. See how the top half of that is like a level 5 dark, and the bottom half maybe averages out to a 3 or something. So that is a really Interesting way to make an edge. Of course, I like those too, but I love using something like this in, to me this is a fun way to kind of suggest eyelashes without literally doing eyelashes. Something like that. It breaks up the line in a fun way. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. guy, and I even don't mind some of my original marker drawings showing through. Can you see it? And then if we look at it from afar, pretty good interpretation. Nice straight. And yeah, I love this piece right here. I love that it's this secondary, almost dominant image.
So in your collages, you allow your marker to show through certain pieces?
Probably. Occasionally, and including even sometimes the raw canvas. But at least today, in this spirit, I don't mind it there. I mean, I made the mark, so why not? Use computers for the first time and some interesting problem-solving stuff. Anyway, something about Steve Jobs' design aesthetic. When he died, I read his biography by Walter Isaacson, and I loved that, like with that original iPod, they only wanted one button, and it was like a circle with one button. And the fact that it felt pretty intuitive and you could find what you wanted, but all this comes down to like the simplicity of the gesture of a device or of a mark. When I read that book, I read it over the weekend when he had just passed away, and it occurred to me that if I had gotten to meet Steve Jobs, he would probably challenge me to make a collage using only 2 or 3 pieces of paper.